Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Hey friends, it's Coach Jen here with Coach Nicole. Welcome back to Lessons of the Journey. Today, we're diving deep into self-forgiveness, one of the hardest things we as humans ever try to do. You know, when you're just living your day, maybe you're folding your laundry, taking a shower, and suddenly a memory from years ago slams right into your brain. Your skin gets hot, your stomach drops, and your brain screams, "Ugh, that thing again." Guess what? You're not weak. You're wired. Neuroscientists have found that when we recall a painful mistake, the amygdala, which is the brain's danger sensor, reactivates the stress response just as if the threat were happening right now. Our brains are designed for survival, not serenity. Although that'd be nice, wouldn't it? A 2025 Flinders University study found self-forgiveness is not a flip of a switch. It's a slow reconciling of mixed emotions. Accountability, remorse, compassion, and release. It's all swirling together. People who forgave themselves still remembered what happened, but their bodies no longer reacted like it was happening now. So that's what we're after. A nervous system that can remember without reliving, and a mind that grows instead of punishes. We are exploring why your brain fights self-forgiveness and how you can train it to finally let you go free.
I love this topic. When you try to forgive yourself, there's a battle inside. The prefrontal cortex, which is your logic center, says, I understand the mistake, I've taken responsibility. But the limbic system, the emotional center, says, nope, we're not safe, repeat the alarm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why you can know you've apologized, changed, grown, and still feel haunted. Great word. That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Brain imaging research shows guilt and shame live differently inside us. Guilt activates regions linked to problem solving and moral behavior. Shame activates regions tied to self-identity, social threat, and rejection sensitivity. Shame literally signals, if you mess up again, you might lose love. Ouch. And our nervous system treats social pain like physical pain. The brain regions light up the same way. So instead of moving forward with a lesson, we stay frozen in fear that we are the mistake. That's what psychologists call moral injury. It happens when our actions clash with our deepest values. Love me some values. And here's the wild part. Shame shuts down the hippocampus, which is your learning center. So we can't absorb new information that contradicts it. It puts your brain into an identity lockdown. You are this moment forever. That's why self-forgiveness isn't just emotional. It's actually biological. To forgive yourself, you have to teach your brain a new identity. I am someone who learns. I am someone who repairs. I am someone who grows. That's when change can finally take root.
I got goosebumps. I'm taking this one really personally, Nicole. This has been a lifelong thing for Miss Jen over here. This is what I fall into. There's another layer. It's false guilt. I think I was born with it. I came out like this. It's guilt without actual wrongdoing. Caregivers actually show this frequently. A child is sick, they feel like they failed. Partners feel guilty for not preventing a loved one's struggle. Survivors of trauma often blame themselves for not leaving sooner or seeing the danger earlier, even when logically they know they did the best they could. So why does this happen? Because we humans crave control.
Control, yes,
Control.
I'll take it. I'll like all of it.
And that looks like this. If we blame ourselves, we maintain the illusion that we could have prevented the pain. It feels better than admitting we were powerless. But that guilt is misplaced responsibility. Your emotional empathy crossing boundaries it was never meant to cross. And that hits us hard because so many of us are wired to carry the world. Yeah, it's my fault. Everything's my fault. Of course it is. I'm a former control freak. This makes a lot of sense to me here. We think if I take on the blame, I can prevent this thing from happening again. But guilt doesn't give us more control. It gives us more suffering.
Ugh.
Yeah. Scientists call the opposite approach adaptive accountability, which is owning what is yours and releasing what isn't. There's a question I really love to offer clients, and that's this. Is this guilt about growth or is this guilt about control? Because one of them moves you forward and the other one buries you alive under pain you were never meant to hold anyway.
Stop talking to me. It's like a little knife in my gut. I know this, and still it's so hard to hear it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I laugh about control. I know control is an illusion. It's my thing. That's how I know I'm under stress, or if I'm feeling shame, I start to control, and it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And that's how I handle things. I have to realize it's just an illusion. You can't control anything except for your own reaction. It's hard.
It's a natural thing it feels safer to know what's going to happen
Sure.
or to believe that you think you know what's going to happen. Like the night Elvis died, can I tell you all of this? The thing I said, if I said it differently, he could have chosen 3 routes. Why did he chose this one? If I said this, or if I suggested, like all of the things that I thought I had control over, what I didn't have control over was everything else that was happening outside of me. And that's a big negotiation inside of you, because it does feel better to think you know, but it's fake. It's all wrong.
For me personally, I think it comes from childhood trauma. I had a mother who had issues, and I always thought if I could control, I could be worthy of the love that she didn't give me. And that was how I thought about it. That's literally what my body did that. It said, if you can control all of the outcomes around you, then you'll be worthy of love. My worth got tied to my control, which, that's not healthy either. That's really bad.
That's a deep one to unpack, Nicole. We need a different session for that.
It's been many, 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 many long years to figure out that that's where that whole thing came from. And I'm working on it, and I'm still a controller. When we learn these things when we're young by our experiences, that trauma is pretty deep. So one of the lead researchers said emotions are signals pointing to the injury. And that changed the way I think about guilt and shame completely. Guilt points to a value. Shame points to a fear or disconnection. That's really good stuff.
That is such good stuff.
And also understanding the difference between guilt and shame. And how does that process and feel? Shame is, and thank you, Brene Brown, the way I understand it, I am bad. Guilt is I did something bad and I need to fix it. One is fixable, one is not. Shame doesn't feel fixable because shame points to that disconnection, that fear you have. And for me, it's I'm not worthy of love.
Basic human need, right? And the values. You and I have talked about values so much. I really like that it's telling us that guilt points to a value. So whether you have taken Nicole and Jen's advice and created your values list or haven't, if you are feeling guilt, that is bringing up a value. Your job is to dig into what that looks like. Then you get to write it down. Now that's number 1 on your list if you haven't done it already. It is so important to know your value system, because guilt can't accompany a strong value system if you know what you're saying yes and no to and why.
And how you're showing up. That's a really good point. I like that you said value system. We really talk about figure out your core values, but then amongst that, you have a lot of other values that identify how you live, how you function, how you show up. And sometimes we're in cognitive dissonance where we're showing up in a way that's completely against our values. And then we will feel guilt. But the shame is a different feeling. And if you feel guilt, congratulations, you have a moral compass that works. It's a good thing. It means you're not a, is it psychopath? I can't remember what it is, but it's one of those things if you don't feel guilt or shame. So if you feel shame, also congratulations, because you care deeply about belonging. And that is so important. Love and belonging is one of most humans' core tenets. We need to feel that connection. The emotion isn't the enemy. The interpretation is. So instead of, I hate feeling this, try, what is the emotion protecting? I like that question. The nervous system actually calms when curiosity steps in, which we always want to calm our nervous system in these scenarios. You switch out of that fight or flight and into that problem solving and that presence. And this is where self-compassion becomes a neuroscience hack. We love our hacks. When you bring kindness to your inner world, the brain releases oxytocin, the bonding and safety hormone, which lowers stress hormones and soothes the nervous system. So compassion isn't weak. It's actually biological leadership.
I like that.
Yeah. Every time you soften toward yourself, you're signaling to your brain, I am safe, I can grow, I can choose better next time. And that is how emotional intelligence rewires survival instincts. Good stuff.
I'm doing this with my kids. We are taking our adult selves and we are going, listen, children, this is how you do it.
Yes.
And we are teaching it to them while withholding it from ourselves. And we are doing it with love and compassion, biological leadership, as you so brilliantly called it. And we are signaling to our children, you are safe here. You are learning, you are growing, and this is all a choice now that you know better. I just recapped what you said, but I think it's really important for us to understand that as we're helping our children grow, learn, or even, gosh, we can put this in the workplace. We're teaching employees new things. We're helping others grow. This is like incredible stuff here. It's emotional intelligence, rewiring survival instincts. Oh my gosh.
Well, and hopefully as we're teaching children or others, we're learning too.
Hopefully.
Because what's the process of learning? You learn, and if you can explain something to someone else and help them learn it, it helps you learn it and seed it and get it deeper into you as you're teaching it. It's powerful if you're teaching this to your children, to your employees, to your friend, whoever, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about repairing and releasing. So forgiveness has 3 components: remorse, which is acknowledging the harm; repair, which is taking aligned action; and release, which is letting the memory lose its power. Most people stop at remorse. Some reach repair, and almost nobody allows release. That's what we're talking about today. Why self-forgiveness is so damn hard. We wait for someone else to tell us we can stop suffering now. We put it out there in hopes that if other people tell us it's okay, we can be okay.
Okay, so I'll just say to everybody listening, you can stop suffering now. I give you full permission if that's what you need.
Here's your permission. Yeah.
That's not going to work because you have to give yourself permission. But we do think that, don't we?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We think that healing depends on external permission. But guess what? That's not healing. That's actually captivity. Let that sink in. You're holding yourself hostage here. Self-forgiveness means saying, I can release this even if others aren't ready to do. Not out of disrespect, but because punishment has served its purpose already. Responsibility is action-oriented. Self-punishment is identity-oriented.
Ooh, say that again.
Did y'all catch that? Responsibility is action-oriented. Self-punishment is identity-oriented. Responsibility says, I'll make better choices moving forward. Self-punishment says, I am broken because of the choices behind me. Oh, if I didn't live like that for a long time. But guess what? Your past behavior does not get to narrate your future identity. It doesn't get to, only if you let it. Release is not disrespecting the pain. Release is respecting the growth that came from the pain. That's where forgiveness becomes freedom.
That is so powerful. As you were saying, responsibility is action oriented and self-punishment is identity oriented. I felt like there was a whole podcast there. When you can take responsibility and be action oriented, I feel like you're moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in self-punishment and you're identity oriented, you're not moving. You're not growing. You're not learning. You're not changing. You're stuck in that identity.
You're claiming those things as your essence.
Yes, that's really powerful. That's so huge for me because it feels so like I can just say I'm punishing myself and I'm beating myself up, which by the way, I'll say recovering self beater upper.
Ditto.
I don't punisher, whatever the word would be. And I say recovering lightly.
Active recovery.
Very active, maybe
With
20% of recovery.
relapse. Yeah.
This happens. I'm like, oh, my husband's like, I don't have to say anything. You'll just beat yourself up. I'm like, I'm really good at that. And identity, it sticks you. You're like stuck in one spot. You cannot move when you are stuck with that identity. Wow, you just kind of blew my mind there. Okay, let's talk about rewriting the story. All right, so here's the story I rewrote. So I sent my oldest to boarding school. Now look, he needed it, but I felt shame. I felt guilt. I felt all the things for many years after sending him. But guilt was trying to tell me my children matter deeply to me. The shame was telling me this is important to you. And I was so tied to it all. When he was older, I had a long conversation with him and we cleared the air about sending him to boarding school. What it did was it really opened up conversations of what he needed in the moment when I chose to do that. And guess what? That moment became the thing that made basically our relationship better. It also opened up future conversations about his childhood and experiences he'd had. And my self-forgiveness rewrote the memory from a wound into wisdom. It's never too late to rewrite your story. Just remember that.
I also have a personal example. Thank you for sharing that. I think as mothers, we often fall into exactly those types of circumstances. We're doing the best we can with what we have in the moment. And inevitable guilt. So I'm going to talk about a friendship that I lost that really mattered to me. It was a lot of years I was friends with this woman. She was someone who had been through a lot of big things in my life, through high school into college and beyond. And when it fell apart, I was overwhelmed with guilt. But at first I was defensive. I told myself I wasn't the one who caused this. Why can't she see her part? But when we're grieving a relationship, all of those stages hit. So there was denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, and right into that spiral where guilt and justification wrestle each other in your mind. So I was really desperate in those moments for her to acknowledge her role in what happened. So I didn't have to feel what I was feeling. I wanted her to validate my pain. I wanted to hear her say, yeah, I took part in that. I messed up too. And while I was waiting for her to own her part, I was refusing to look at my own. And not until I was able to shift from blame to responsibility, when I could say, yeah, she hurt me. And also I contributed to this breakdown. Both of these things are true. And that is where empathy opened the door. So instead of seeing my own hurt, I could see hers too. I had to rewrite the story. I apologized for my part fully, just my part, without a but, without conditions. And our friendship didn't come back together. We didn't get that fairy tale reconciliation moment that most of us hope for. But I tell you, what I did get in that apology was freedom. Self-forgiveness released me from needing her to agree with my healing. It allowed me to honor what we had, which was a brilliant decade of friendship. And it allowed me to do that without holding myself hostage to what we had lost. So I found that I didn't need to hear her say, we're good, in order for me to finally be good inside of myself. And that's when I realized that forgiveness wasn't actually about repairing the relationship with her. It was about repairing the relationship with myself. So self-forgiveness says, I am allowed to move forward. I am allowed to grow. I am allowed to access joy again. And you can honor that lesson without continuing to live in the punishment.
That's excellent. And I can completely relate to that story. I've been through something very similar and I felt so many of those same things. Why can't that person understand? And then going, wait, you know what? Own it so you can move forward.
Yeah.
That's part of sitting in the feelings and the emotions. And I really think most of this is about we want to escape any form of perceived painful emotions.
Yeah.
We don't want to sit in our emotions. We don't want to sit in those feelings that can be very uncomfortable.
That's going back to that cognitive dissonance you were talking about. And that guilt reflects a value. I valued being a good friend. And the possibility that I could have participated in our downfall was just not okay with me, which is where the defensive and the blame, it was not okay with me because that's not possibly who I am, because this is part of my value system. And yet here we are in the destruction of a long-term friendship, and it takes two.
Yep.
You know, it takes two. That was a tough one to sit with, the ability to detach from that guilt.
Yeah.
And I tell you, sometimes driving in the car, I'll see a post on Instagram. You know, we're cordial at this point, but I'm like, oh, remember when? It's still there. This is where that self-forgiveness work comes in. I'm allowed to feel it without it taking over as my essence anymore. And gosh, I mean, my kids are little, yours are big. I'm sure there were many, many a moments. I'm sure there will be so many in my life. This practice is going to be priceless moving forward in my children's lives.
A core value for me, because of my experience with my own mother, was to be a great mom. Yeah. And let's be honest, when it comes to parenting, man, talk about a crapshoot. And like, you take all the information and you still screw it up. You know, Jen always jokes, I'm going to send my kids to therapy for different reasons that I went, right?
Yep.
I remember having a conversation with my son when he was probably 18. And I said, did I screw you up enough to give you a good story, but not so much that you need to be in therapy for the rest of your life? And he looked at me and he goes, that's a very good summary of that. Because you're going to mess it up as a parent. Yeah. You just are. You have so many moments. But being able to get to the point where you can say, okay, let's talk about what happened. Being vulnerable enough to have a conversation. And it's so interesting how some parents will come to the table, can't let my child see me as vulnerable because that's weak.
Welcome to my family. Welcome to my childhood.
Yeah. And we have to be very careful of that, because that is escaping pain, vulnerability, tough emotion to sit in. Any of these tough emotions to sit in, if we're saying, I don't want to sit there, I don't want to feel that, okay, well, then we're not moving forward. We're not taking action. We're not doing the responsibility, action-oriented, moving out of it. And I keep having this image of like, if I take responsibility and then I'm action-oriented, I feel like I'm walking away from the pain truly, versus escaping the pain where I'm just doing the self-punishment and I'm going, okay, it's just my identity. I'm just a screwed up person and this is how I'm going to live. And I'm not really escaping the pain, but it feels like I am.
Yeah.
I think that's the disconnect.
And really, newsflash, that'll continue to come up until you've figured a way to process through it, which is the action-oriented piece of what you're speaking to. Escapism really doesn't serve us, because those lessons are going to continue to show up energetically through different channels. Whether it's your children, work, your partner, it's going to continue to show up in a different form until you're really able to process through what got you there in the first place. So moving through into the self-forgiveness from the guilt, out of shame. It is not who you are. You are not the worst of your decisions.
Yes. And sometimes the things that you've been through aren't even things that you did. When you were talking about the experience of reliving it and feeling like you're right back there again, it's never been termed that way. Thank you for putting it that way. It's such a beautiful way to say your body's right back in that space, and letting that go takes the process of, I need to sit in this discomfort. What happens when that memory comes back and you feel crap again? Oh,
Yep,
nope.
push it
I
away.
don't want to deal with this. This is horrible. I'm going to walk. Instead of going, let's sit here. Let's feel this.
Oh no, that hurts.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's the process. I want to be able to say, oh, I remember that experience. Yeah, that was sucky, but not be in that moment of pain. So I have to let that pain sit.
We talked about that in our grief episode because nobody knows how to do it the right way. And we've talked about resilience and what does that look like? And it's really the ability to process through. I guess we're going into our takeaways because you brought it up, which was the active responsibility in action is so necessary to move this from a cellular level. The same thing happens in infidelity in relationships. Whenever you think about it, you are right back in that spot of the way that you felt it. It becomes a cellular level type of thing. Unless the work is done, it's not going to go away. And no medication, no put a pin in it, no anything that's going to numb you from it is going to do the work that you need to do, like Coach Nicole's saying, in sitting with it, in processing through it, in letting it be a mirror to what really matters to you and how you're going to be different. Because we said it in this episode, it's a choice. How you choose to move forward, that's on you. If your ego wants to sit and go, nope, it's me, I'm awful, that's a you thing. And I'll tell you what, it gets old too. Not a lot of folks want to sit in your circle with the, oh, woe is me, poor me, I did this, I'm going to punish myself forever. That gets old. We really want to see something moving here. Great, that happened. If you're going to let it be your story, that's a you thing. I can't choose to be in that. That's a boundary of mine. If I hear myself say something 3 times, I'm like, oh, gosh, I said that 3 times already. I really need to move through this.
And I always come back to fear and bravery. What's the definition of bravery? It is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to move through the fear. You have to walk through that cloud of fear. It's the same thing. You have to walk through that cloud of emotion. You have to feel that emotion, not just turn around and run away. Because if you turn around and run away, it's still in you.
Yeah, it never left. You just chose to ignore it. When you return, because we always return back to center, it's going to still be there.
Yes, it is.
So you got to do something with it.
And if every time you recall it, that's why it's so intense. And that's the disconnect I think I always had was, why do I feel like it's so intense? And the scientific breakdown always helps me. Oh, because my body thinks I'm back there again. Yeah. Even though I'm 40 years away from that experience, it doesn't realize it's not doing what I needed to do. Yeah. And that's never going to change. So I have to sit with it, feel it, process it. That's the processing part of emotions, which is really hard. I mean, this is the hard part.
This is the hard work
of being human, is moving past these things and being able to sit in them.
So there's this idea that I should have known better, that I should have been better, all these shoulds, which is a really judgy thing. So I'm sitting here and I'm nastily judging myself for this thing that really we are doing the best we can with what we have for the most part. Now, if we go, I'm actively moving against my morals, my ethics, like that's a whole different scenario. You need to figure yourself out. Like we're talking about generalized kind of things. I messed up with my kids, my partner, my work, those kinds of things where we don't have to put our head in the guillotine time after time after time. We really need to take a look at what is it that I learned from this so that my body is not attached to the cellular level. And I do begin the healing journey from the lessons that I've learned, recognizing perfection doesn't exist. We are human and mistakes are going to get made, y'all. It's an unfortunate truth of our existence. So what can we do with that information?
Yeah, I like that you said that. It is responsibility, action-oriented, body detachment. You've got to detach your body from the experience, your physical body from the physical emotions that you're feeling. And the only way you can do that is sitting with it. This is such good stuff. My takeaway is that it's very powerful to have the layout of what's happening to my brain and my body that helps me process. Because for some reason, if I understand that from a scientific level, it makes it easier for me when I'm going through the process of it. It's like, oh, obviously moving forward, something like this happens. I'm going to go, oh, I'm feeling it again. Wow, I do feel like I'm right back there again. So this is something I haven't healed. I have a list of my unhealed things that I work on.
That's good, because I think that's a good challenge for us.
Yeah, that is absolutely a good challenge. Let's do our questions.
I'm going first. So here's a would you rather. Would you rather travel back in time to meet your ancestors or travel into the future to meet your descendants?
Descendants.
Oh, and why?
The reason I answered that question that way is because I love watching the littles grow. And so to be able to see their children's children, I just think is so cool. And I feel like the past has already happened. So I could probably look it up if I really wanted to see things. I don't know. I just feel like the future, I will never be able to look up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll take the thing that I can't do.
You answered that so quickly. When I was looking at this question, I was thinking about Back to the Future and how he goes in and he sees his like bum ass family. And I'm like, ooh, what I want to see, what.
Some of those Back to the Future type of movies where you go back and you're like, oh, my ancestors were kind of a-holes. Although I guess your descendants could also be a-holes. Hopefully not.
I know, right? Oh my gosh.
I would definitely go forward versus back. Okay, my question for you is, what qualities do you admire about your parents?
Ooh, work ethic, number one. Get shit done kind of people, whatever it takes. That was tough for me growing up because I was like, no, I should like what I do. And my parents were like, who likes what they do? You do it. I'm like, ooh, that's black sheep here. Strength, resilience, which I think I get a lot of that from my mom. My dad is extremely compassionate. He is generous and kind and a great person to talk to if you're a customer service representative. Like he is going to put a smile on your face. Yeah, my mom is strong. My mom is self-determined. My mom is, she's like superwoman. I just remember thinking like, she can do all of it. I recognize as an adult how hard things were. My dad was gone a lot for his job. And then my mom decided that sports were important for my brother and I. Played all of the sports. She had to be in 3 places at one time, and how she made it work because she was so devoted to what was important to her children and the strong boundaries that she held with us, for us. Certainly something that I've learned from. It could continue to go on, but those are some of the ones that came to mind initially.
Those are good ones.
As a couple and as individuals, they're pretty cool folks.
That's awesome. I love that you have that.
Thanks.
All right, here's your challenge, listeners. Write down one thing you still feel guilty about. Then list 3 ways you've grown since that moment. That simple exercise trains your brain to track progress, not punishment. That is healing in motion.
I like that. Do you have in your list ways that you've grown since then?
No, I need to add that. My list is more the traumas that bring me back. If I feel it and it brings me back, then I know I need to work on the forgiveness part of it. I categorize them. Right now, I'm in the process of dealing with some of the lesser things because I want to get good at it. Just like everything else we talk about, it's like a muscle, and I want to get good at it. So I've been working on some lesser traumas. And what's interesting is those traumas do not bring up anything for me anymore. I remember the experiences from a very different perspective. And I usually only work one thing a month.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. And these are the small ones. And I'm thinking there's probably 3 really large things that I want to process, but I'm like, oh, you got to get real good at this before you're going to be able to deal with the ones. It's that big T, little t, right? I'm working on the little t's, and so I can get good at it. But I like the idea of putting down how I've grown since that moment and having that list as well. So
yeah,
going to add that.
Good. Well, remember, forgiveness isn't forgetting. We're not asking you to decide to start having amnesia at this
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
What it is it's freedom. Everybody needs to remember you are not the worst thing you've ever done. You are the human sitting here who have learned from it. So thanks for being here with us today, and we will see you next time on Lessons of the Journey.
Bye, everybody.
Write your lines with passion, let your spirit freely roam. The lessons of your journey.